thinking that their reality that is given to them from the drugs that given it to them, that they, oh yeah, no, they're living in a drug and seduced mind.
Right. I mean, it's pretty bad when I have to like paraphrase a quote unquote journalist from the Blaze about this. But thank you, Scott. Anyway, the point, but it's pretty sad when someone like him is saying, 30 years ago was the to your local television ads were dominated by the bartender. Now they're dominated by big pharma. So that
Mm.
goes to show you who's doing what. Goes to show you who's really doing what. Yeah.
And that's what the doctors are, anyways. Is just they're drug dealers, and what they have learned is how to administer the current drugs, the modern drugs provided.
I mean, that's all they. That's all what most of them do. That's it. Because a lot of them are just afraid to just either work outside the scope of work outside the lines, or b they don't know any better.
Mm.
I mean, you look at the things that can actually kill you in this country and the diseases that can actually kill you in this country or in the world, and meanwhile, or the causes or whatever, and meanwhile, you look at like what petrified most of the medical industry. Most of like the your common doctors in the medical industry, it was a disease with a 99.9999 survival rate. You know,
Oh, it's just see, that's a big part of the insanity too. Is how in like the it shows how powerful their power of suggestion is. That
yeah.
these so-called professionals, nurses, doctors, go completely against of what they have known and been taught for throughout their careers.
And the whole thing is, and it goes back to my old saying: you can't be clean, sober, and paranoid. Like, just do drugs if you're gonna be paranoid. Seriously, or be an adult and smoke and take a few downers, and you should be, smoke a few downers, and you should be fine. Like, you can't be paranoid and clean and sober because at least like you can get. I mean, it's one thing to become paranoid once you like go down the rabbit hole for a bit, but then after a while, it's just
Well,
whatever.
that's the thing. Everyone is paranoid. That's the
Right.
way each have been taught.
Right.
It is out of fear. Do this
It
because of
is.
that. Do
Well,
this.
fear is an addiction. People don't understand. People are addicted to fear. If they don't feel paranoid, they feel like they're missing something.
Hey, Harsh,
Jay.
you want to hear my personal opinion on drugs?
Yes. Sure.
Well, it goes like this. I think that you shouldn't be using drugs altogether at all if you don't have a medical issue or some sort of disorder that's treatable with the drug itself.
Right.
Isn't that right?
But
I agree.
right. I mean, normally speaking, absolutely. The problem is,
Well, that's the thing. We're all suffering from ailments of a crazy, messed up world.
yeah. I mean, like the whole point of being awakened to what's going on is to realize, look, all this crap is by design. None of this shit
Yeah,
is random.
and like no, well, don't like it. No, it's not to be like uh, we're trapped within it. Everyone trapped, like they just follow along.
Yeah.
Uh, you
And they
know,
they follow along
it's
real
tough
easy.
living with this.
They follow along real easily because they love their fear porn. Like I said, you can't be like I said, you can't be clean. If you're clean, sober, dumb, and you're paranoid, there's a dumb normie and you're paranoid, then that's like that's just like the axis of evil right there. That's just a cocktail for disaster. But then again, if you're someone who's supposed to be a truther, a researcher, a critical thinker, you should have enough knowledge to where you're not really paranoid about anything anymore. You're just planning, preparing, and practicing for what happens after the collapse. So
That
basically, if you're paranoid, you're just lazy. Like that's just what it is.
see that there's possibilities. It's
Or you're,
possible,
or
possible,
you, right.
possible.
Or you're like one of the few people who should be paranoid because you've actually done good things in the world. So
Mm.
that's about it. Other than that, if you're paranoid, you're just lazy. It's like,
Um, it's kind of sort of like, well, some of it's petrifying, right? That's what the paranoid is. It induces the states of petrification.
right,
You know, so but
right.
may not exactly be lazy, but it's kind of it's lacking the courage to get past that fear.
Well, a lot of it is it's lacking the courage to like even take it a step how to act.
Mm.
the the whole point of being in that stage of fear and paranoia is not supposed to be permanent. It's supposed to be temporary. It's supposed to last long enough so you get up and you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do. Like it's to motivate you to plan, prepare, and practice for what's going to happen. That's all you can do.
Mm.
Because if you're paranoid, but all you're doing is like and you're not doing anything else, then it's a waste. That's a wasted emotion.
See, that's the thing. Everyone's sort of paranoid, very, and don't know how to act. See, and that's the thing.
Again, that's a very bad combination.
And that's the thing. It's like never mind just acting. We're given reactions. That's what everyone is. Well, the majority is basing their lives and livelihood off and when they're going through altercations, their reactions.
Yeah,
So that's a given thought and a given way of being that is just repeating itself. It's acting. It's not being authentic. That's not addressing the situation for what it is now, and viewing what it is, and yeah, exactly. Uh, um, I was just going to reword that sentence.
but it's inauthentic. It really is. But when people do that sort of stuff, yeah, it really is. It's just you're either trying to plan and prepare and practice for what's going to happen after the collapse, or you're just not really,
Uh,
or you just get to be delusional. Because like if
so
you're gonna have panic attacks with any sort of action, that's like being hypersensitive. That's like being on a bunch of hyperactive drugs and not doing
frantic,
any and just lying in bed.
frantic and reactionary, and just a loose cannon. That's what they want.
Right. That's what they. I mean, it's like I said, it's just counterproductive. At the end of the day, it's not even helpful.
And see, that's good. That's what. Yeah, we're not supposed to act. We're not
No.
supposed to react. It is being. That's being authentic,
Right.
let alone we don't know how to act because what our act shown is as are wrong and further cause situations problems and it's either supportive or instigative of perpetuating harm, opposed to addressing and um, aiding resolving the issues at hand.
Exactly. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what it is. At the end of the day, if you're not trying to solve the problems in your own life, how are you going to solve the problems that it matters the most?
exactly.
You know.
Can I tell the audience something, Ash?
Sure.
I made a friend the other night who can get me weed $30 cheaper and about 50% stronger.
Cool.
Yeah, it's going to help me with my autism.
That's a good start.
$70 a quarter instead of 100. That's pretty good.
I mean, it depends who you know, but yeah.
$10
But
a gram.
Australia, everything's expensive, so that's
It's
not.
harsh down there. Harsh of their prices, what they pay
Yeah,
for.
I mean, 70 is not bad for a quarter in Australia. Considering like eggs are like $1,000, so it's not too bad. That's not too bad considering all that, but it's a. But it goes back to what you're saying. It's like some of these things are just wasted emotions. Panic is just a wasted emotion, especially if it doesn't lead to any sort of being or
Yeah.
like action to lead to that being.
Oh, it's yeah. It's just a waste of time. It's
Right.
not like it's productive.
Oh,
And productive is paying attention. Paying attention is caring, and caring is giving aid to is giving remedy.
yeah.
Uh, uh,
Exactly.
uh, that's and you can't. So you can't really heal. You can't resolve an issue if you're stuck in a frantic state of mind.
Right. That's so true in so many ways. And the problem is, some people are in such a frantic state of mind, are stuck in such a frantic state of mind, they can't even process new information. But I remember one time talking with someone in some of my family members about the collapse of society, the end of the world, and someone said, "How do you believe that? Do you think that's a cult-like mentality? Do you in a cult? Because only a person with a cult-like mentality would believe that." It's like, how is processing new information about what the elites want to do a cult-like mentality? This isn't the 70s or 80s where people are just yelling at this in the forest. No, if you have billionaires literally showing off their bunkers all over mainstream television, and every economist and every other venture cat, all these people who are like quote unquote successful people, as they would deem it, because all they give a fuck about is like money and status, even though they have nothing, even though it leads to absolute for them anyway. If people at that level are telling you, yeah, things are going to collapse and things are going to get very ugly, and you're going to say that's a cult like mentality, then your panic is at the level of a learning disorder.
Oh, that's see that's the thing right there. That is a given mentality. Just to a trigger. Oh, that's a cult like mentality of to stop learning, to stop viewing, to
Yep.
not accept, to venture further, to view what the actual answers or probability of the case may be. Uh,
I
uh,
mean,
uh,
that's basically like someone saying, I'm gonna that's basically like someone going on television saying, I'm gonna fart in random people's faces. They do that. And when you tell that, and then when you tell people, hey, by the way, some of these weirdos are randomly farting in your faces for no reason. Oh, don't be stupid. That's just propaganda. Now, when they're doing it, it's like the weird part is they're the ones that always lecture me and try to lecture me about, oh, you got to see what the other person thinks, what the other person thinks, what the other person thinks. Yeah, seeing what the other person thinks means to absorb information you don't want to necessarily absorb, to learn things that you wish you didn't have to learn. Not just saying things that you agree with or saying things that, oh, okay, well, you're, then that's just fucking confirmation bias. I mean, who the hell wants to learn that things are collapsing? Nobody.
that is one of the given mindsets that are given to for humans to pick up, and that's what I picked up at the beginning of my so-called journey of being awake. It was um, through uh, guitar videos. Uh, uh, um, yeah, they would do these debunking and this and that, all sorts, or product testing. And I viewed a whole bunch of agents, possibly bots too, to go and attack and to deny others their own senses. They
Yep.
want human beings to deny of. I mean, you heard that with your own ears,
Yep.
but then you've been given a spiel, a justifying of how it was not of what you actually heard, and it was some other thing. And you couldn't have possibly have heard that with your own ears and deny your senses altogether. That is the given mindset of what they promote and put out there, is to deny one's own senses and the reality given. It's here, the current state of any affair.
I mean, that's so true. I mean, that's typical. It's just basic astroturfing. That's what that is. It's just simple astro. That's just what it is. It's just astroturfing. People doing stuff like this. It's like,
Yeah.
but
Can I
Oh,
say something?
this
of
is real
course,
grass, but it's astroturf. But it's real grass
I
because it's
know.
justified, and I've been given the reason that the astroturf is real.
Can I tell
Yeah,
the audience
by all
something?
means, by all means, yes.
All right. Well, in the 90s, my mum and dad used to deal weed, and in the 2000s, they had like at least $10,000 cash and spare change at a time. And they wouldn't even pay for karate lessons for me, but let alone my dad would buy me a guitar and not pay me for guitar lessons and shit like that. So it doesn't really make any sense. Like, what's wrong with people?
That's
Uh,
rather interesting. I mean, I don't know why.
that sounds like lack of support,
Yeah,
community
that.
support, and just
Yeah, that sounds like they never really had confidence in you to do anything. That's really what that sounds like, unfortunately.
and some of that is just ideal feeling. Oh, this is the things that we're supposed to do, so we're gonna go do that. We're gonna go to karate. We're gonna give them piano lessons. We're gonna go to ballet and gymnastics and soccer mom shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Jay's case, he didn't even get that stuff, so he got robbed of the soccer mom experience. But
Mm,
as someone who actually used to do stuff, as someone who actually used to play sports as a kid and used to actually, as a child, you could, do a training MMA and some of these other things. The thing is, those things are only worth doing if you're happy to do them. Otherwise it's just another otherwise it's just another thing to fill out a college application. And that's also another problem. It's like so many people are just doing things just because of the system we have. Well,
yeah,
it's like, well, the more active you are in high school and middle school, the better chances you are to go into a top notch university. It's like an Ivy League university. It's like
Well,
that's
hey,
great.
Harsh,
Yes.
I actually have an answer to what you said before that they didn't have any confidence in me. What happened was I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD at the age of 6.5, and my mum got all these books about ADHD and autism and that, and she probably thought I wouldn't make it in life because of my disorders, and I wouldn't be confident or successful or nothing. So they never really
that's a
tried
part
with
of.
me.
Yeah, but that itself is their fault for doing that shit.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
well,
supposed.
that is a part of the labeling issues, the problems giving with labeling and classifying the uh, any orders. It's not a disorder; that's an order.
Correct.
But and then it desensitizes and takes it away from the individual, and makes it obligat not obligatory, ambiguous, and vague of how it is to be addressed, instead of being very accurate and uh, um, dealing with each case, with each person, for their story of how it is, and not labeling and causing these issues of these possibilities that most of the time would not be a possibility without the power of suggestion of the labels given to such.
Right.
Anything having to do with the schizophrenic should never, ever, ever be told to a schizophrenic.
Right.
They should not be told of their illness, because it's just all it does is just reinforce it and make it stronger for what it is.
Right. Well, one, there's that aspect of it, which I 100% agree with, and that's exactly you shouldn't be reinforcing the illnesses or reinforcing someone's negatives whatsoever. And two, more importantly, the whole point of parenting is at the very least, you're supposed to build up confidence in your children through what either through coddling or tough love, but either way, you're supposed to try to do that, not just be like, well, fuck it, I have no chance. This one has no shot. Like, you can't.
Mm.
You do stuff like that. That's I mean, you want to talk about emotional damage. You want to talk about like borderline child abuse. There you go.
And JC, if you really wanted to learn the guitar, nothing would have stopped you from learning the guitar.
Yeah.
That's like, but music was the thing that was forced down my throat, kind of like what we've been going about. My pops thought it was his ticket and being famous. I'm going to be famous and rich,
Right.
and he was trying to vicarious live through his son, of that I'm going to be some sort of fantastic musician or something like that. But I didn't learn it for him. I didn't do it because he thought that. I learned it for me because I wanted to learn.
Right.
It fulfilled my yearning for learning, and it never really was for the entertainment of others. Really, it was more for that I got to know it, that I can play it, and it's not it. What it wasn't incumbent on my father's projections.
Exactly. Now, my family, they always wanted me to learn music, learn music, learn music. But one, when I was a kid, I didn't really want to learn music. I wanted to go out and play, go out and be more active in sports or whatever, or just hang out with my friends or whatever. And then two, even when I did take lessons, I was like, God, these lessons are so fucking boring. I want to just learn things my way. Like, I learned more like messing around with the instruments than I do, messing around with the piano or guitar than I would,
Mm.
or just randomly singing lyrics than I would in like some structured, here's your lessons for the day type environment.
Oh, and that's like tutoring is pretty much the way of most and anything like that. That's the way music should be taught. That's the way
Hey,
any topic, any issue. It is of an intimate setting, and getting to know the subject for what it is.
You're gonna learn how to sing more on an open mic night than you are at some like random music class. Why?
Hundred
Because you want to
percent.
make sure you're on point and you don't suck.
Mm.
hey, hey, Harsh,
Yes.
can I tell the audience something else?
If it's about your life, sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I was gonna say. Well, my advice as a child from getting no attention at home and lacking emotional support and all that, and getting bullied by my mum and all that, my advice was playing video games. And then I started smoking weed at 11, and I started doing both. I put 4,000 hours on games and shit.
Damn, 11, you beat me by 2 years, man.
Yeah. Jay had to grow up quick though. Like, Jay had
Yeah.
to grow up quick. I mean, when I was 13 smoking weed, I wasn't hanging out by myself. I was hanging out with people. we got the we got the weed. Let's have some fun. Like, we got the weed. We got the let's go. Let's have a night of it. I mean, yeah, I feel bad for Jay. My heart goes out to you, bro. You've dealt with so much bullshit in your life.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have this nice white suburbanite life, and you just have to deal with nothing but layers and layers of shit. Fuck.
You know, like it's very reminiscent of all the stuff that I sort of grew up with and stuff like that. But some of it seems to be like on the next level, and it's like, damn.
Right. I know. That's how I felt when I met Jay. The guy was like, "Yo, Hosh, I've been ever since I was 15. I've been exposing pedophiles." Like, the guy spent the most 8 glorious years of his life dealing with like the worst pieces of shit on earth. And the fact that Jay is still with us is rather remarkable.
And I still do it in my spare time, but just not as much.
Right. And I don't blame you for that because, if I'm like 21, 22 years old, last thing I would do is deal with a bunch of pedophiles.
Well, most people that age got a life. They don't want to sit there talking to creeps and
Right.
fucking.
See, and that's the thing too. Like, no, there's a bunch that's pretty much what is bred through the uh, jailing system. Uh, uh, the male, rape. Statistically, if you were to add jails, it is higher amongst men. Yeah, men get raped the most, and that mentality is brought out after they leave. And I was subjected to, and some creeps being creepo who went to jail
Hey,
because I would be perfect pickings if I ever went there.
Right. Yo,
hey,
Jay.
I was talking to Hart.
Yo,
Yeah,
Hart.
I'll tell you something funny about Australian jails. The men's jails, they get bananas in there for lunch, but the women's jails are not allowed bananas because you know what they'll do with them.
Jesus We went there, everybody. We went there. We went there.
Damn.
So let me guess, the men's jails in Australia wouldn't get any pudding cups either, would they?
Yeah,
No, I'm still turning on.
you're allowed to buy stuff like that with your own money, like chocolate custard and shit like that.
Oh god. No, I was saying that because if they got the cup and they're finished eating, the next thing you know,
Put a wet towel in there.
women
See,
really have it.
that's messed up. That's denying satisfaction. For men get satisfaction, but it's denial for women. My hearts go out.
Even
Yeah,
in prison, they can't get a fair shake. Like,
yeah, God. When I was in jail, all the junkies tried to make me shoot up with a meth needle that was used on 9 different people and scraped across the courtyard for years. I never shot up in my life, and I'm not going to start.
Mm.
yeah.
So how'd you get past that? Did you just stand your ground and be like, no fucking way, and they're like cool
Yeah,
with it? Yeah.
yeah, they stopped bothering me after a while, after I kept saying no. I'll tell you something that happened to me in jail too. I gave this guy 50 of my buy-up money, like worth of food and stuff, for a TV for 2 nights, and he took it in the first half a day. So after he went out in the courtyard and put the TV back in his room, I went into his room and took it and put it back in my room. And I went out in the courtyard, and there's everyone standing in a circle with shanks and stuff. And I come out there and I faced them all alone, and they didn't attack me. They just stood their ground. And one of them come up, who was a big ringleader of them all, and said, "What are you doing?" And I explained myself, and they apologized and they let it go.
Holy fuck, that's pretty cool.
So pretty much just being honorable and authentic and straightforward will get you by.
Yeah.
Howie says prison, not jail. Big difference. No, that it is. That it is. And then Howie says, way back when it came to weed, y'all spent hours picking seeds out the stash. I mean, yeah. That's what it was.
That was it sounds like y'all subject to some shitty. Manitoba has always been blessed with pretty decent weed. It's kind of like the secret. The BC is supposedly praised for this shit, but back in the day, Woody Harrelson would travel to Manitoba to indulge in Manitoban weed
That's a pretty
because
good
we
strain,
didn't
yeah.
have issues with stems and sticks and freaking sticky, icky,
Yeah.
weed.
Hey, Harsh and Hart.
Yeah.
Do they drug test MMA or UFC fighters where you guys are?
Yeah.
Adult drug test if you're on probation or something.
Well, because I think I could have become a pretty successful fighter if I got into the training. I've got a good pain tolerance. I've never been trained in fighting, but I've won my fair share of fights when I stood my ground.
Mm.
I've knocked someone out and I put someone on their ass a fair few times.
Well, I mean, considering you're only in your mid-20s,
Yeah,
it's never
it
too
still
late to
happens.
join. I mean, if you
Yeah,
wanted to join an MMA class or some other martial arts class, you could always do so.
yeah,
Who knows? Because it's always been unfair to me. I'm dealing with someone like Scott or fucking JayC or Harsh Med. That's all giants compared to me.
Oh, yeah, Scott's yeah.
How tall are you, Harsh?
I'm 6'1".
I'm 5'11 and a half.
Yeah, and Scott's 6'2", 270, I think.
Would be the big ones compared to Hart.
Yeah, we would.
I'd be jumping around. What's that? Hey Spike, what are you doing today, Spike? Shut up! That'd be one of you guys
Exactly.
with me. But I take that shit. See, that's the thing, one of you guys, I can take one of you guys hitting me, and it would literally throw me across the fucking room.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, man.
Uh,
Scott.
have any one of y'all been hit like that? No, because y'all fucking big anchors and shit like that. You
Oh,
have
I've
no
been hit.
idea what it is to be
I've.
hit
Oh,
and
I've been
thrown
hit
across the room from being fucking hit.
Oh,
That's
I've been
what
hit
it.
like that a few times when I was younger. That's not.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you have, but but you just, you just get up and hit back. That's all it is. It's just,
Right.
the problem is when you get hit like that under organized sports. That's when you're like, oh shit. You
Damn,
stay in
they
the
allowed
batter's
to do
box, you
that.
get
That's not fun.
no, you stay in the batter's box, you get plucked in the face. You're like, what the fuck? Like, you get hit in a fight, you're like, okay, cool. Now I know what's up. But you
Yeah.
get hit, or if you just duck and dodge, and they can't hit you, then whatever. But when it comes to the problem is when you're in practice and you almost are concussed. You're like, what the fuck is this? I'm not supposed to be concussed in practice. What the hell? God. Think that's the problem. I'm like,
Hey,
damn, I'm
why
trying to
is
learn.
fighting weak and broken and disabled? That's what they're.
Yeah, I'm not damn it, why are my ankles sore? I just got out of a headlock. What are you talking? I'm trying to learn how to grapple here, and I'm starting to have concussion issues. God damn. But yeah, Sarah says I'll take you all out. Hit. That's good to know.
Probably.
And Sarah Marley says hello, you. And then a fact of all always says, where is Scott? He is dealing with a personal matter, unfortunately, the passing of Olivia's father. So there's that. But yeah, I think Hart, you and I probably have the highest pain tolerance just because of our ethnicities.
Hey, Harsh and Hart.
Everything was a fight, but uh,
Yo, what up, Jay?
I've got a pretty good track record on showing people my DJ music. It's about 99% people like it, 1% don't like it.
That's a very good track record. That is.
I've only had 2 people out of probably the 100 people that do the better don't.
See, then like sort of we go back to Harsh's and our chat the other night of like the continuance and support. And like, oh, okay, that's cool. But then where's the like? I want to hear that again. I want to play that again. I want to put that on. I want to put that on repeat, and it's not given to local artists or anything like that. It's just like, sure, we get positive reviews or something, but then like, do they really care? Do they really support afterwards?
Yeah, guys, I got to get going now. I'll meet you on the next podcast.
Yeah, tomorrow night, if everyone is up and about,
Yeah, I
we
got to
got
go
the.
yeah,
All right.
I got to go buy a packet of cigarettes, man. That's all.
You got Alex Thomas. It says, "I do. I'll fight the Aussie. LOL. I care." That's awesome. It's crazy. Crazy stuff.
All
Anyway,
right, guys, have a good one.
all right, you too. So she should be coming on tomorrow. Oh, Hart. Speaking of which, I think we might like start a painting session or something because I got this a few days ago.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
acrylic painting set. Let me turn off the
See,
background for a
what did
bit.
I get? It's not acrylic, and that's probably why it sucks.
I don't
Uh,
know if this is good or not, though. That's the thing. I don't know if this is actually good or
it,
if it's terrible.
yeah, it's
I still haven't
flow of
opened it yet,
paint
so
matters. Um, and trying to get it onto the canvas, it's that's tricky. So
it is.
quality of paint may be an issue.
Right.
Uh, yeah, that'll be cool. That's
Let's hold this up again from the back. From the front.
shit. Where is
Oh, see, that's nice. You already got your designs working.
But
See, I,
I didn't like how the paint flowed. Yeah, I'm trying to turn off the background if I can. Where's that? I don't do it. Oh, this is going to be garbage.
well, Robert says I like it, so
Mm.
there you go.
Yeah, no, it is fairly difficult. Like you've seen with Alex's work there. That's hard to say. Alex's work there. She's phenomenal.
Yeah,
How
she
she
is.
gets is apt to lay down the lines. And that's what these true artists are. Like they understand and view, feel how that paint is laid out, and they get that feeling of putting that paint down to whatever material that it is. It's tricky.
It is. It is. But like Alex says, sometimes I'm gonna have to start taking her advice when it comes to painting. Sometimes you just have to spray some, like she says. Sometimes you just spray some, throw some paint at a wall. Sometimes you just spray.
Yeah, and then yeah, not worrying about it is another thing too. Like worrying about it is you're going to create issues and problems and expectations
Hmm.
that and then yeah, frustrations that you're not fulfilling.
Yeah,
So yeah, just spraying it and laying it out is sometimes the key. Let it flow, let it go, let it go.
absolutely. That's how it's supposed to be. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
definitely gonna try.
I've been writing lately, and yeah, like I've been saying, they're reworded, re-lyric. You like singing, you might have fun with them.
Okay, yeah, we definitely could make a weekend out of it. That's for sure.
Right? Then too, like I got some like sort of um telling it how it is, and then just straight up positive stuff. Taking the songs and uh, uh, yeah, bringing out the spells that are given within them, the negativity, and ensuring that there is positivity with it, and not being too spellbound.
Right. That is true because sometimes sometimes people become spellbound by their own words of all things.
Mm, hmm.
Hello, Joe.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes they're straightforward with it. Who's that? Oh, screaming. Oh, that's the I put a spell on you. Um, the original guy who did that screaming something. I think I want to say Thompson. Yeah. Oh, pretty much tells it how it is. It's all it takes. Everyone's spellbound. That's what the wording is. That's what the signs are. That's what uh, um the justifying is.
Yeah.
It's words given to deny reality.
Yeah. That's the harsh, for lack of a better term, that's the harsh reality of it all. People often get casted by their own spells. I mean, there's a reason why broadcast is is technically a terrible thing because you're casting a spell abroad. And speaking of things that are just out of reality or not even of reality, Holy says harsh thoughts on the indictment rumors. I'm pretty sure Trump and his legal team drew them up so people can pay more attention to him
Yeah.
and give him some positive publicity. That's what I'm
Um.
starting to think.
No. Like, is he going to make a? See, here's the predicting. Here's the predict. Is he going to make a comeback? Is he going to be promoted and posed as some sort of hero, or is he just going to sit back and that's the thing of he's still promoted as he's going to be a hero to say QAnon, but yeah, and not
Oh, they're
say
already
anyone
working on it.
whatsoever.
I think the indictment rumors were to make him as like some hero, some
No.
like political martyr and hero to the anti-hero and try to make DeSantis look like the villain slash anti-hero. I mean, the whole thing is just a freaking. The whole
See,
thing is it's just such a circus.
it's like they're trying to keep him in the limelight just to keep the hopeful ones hopeful. But nothing is really being cemented as to be coming of the next and to make a comeback. It,
Right. I mean, first of all, the whole thing is such a sham and a circus and a mockery of anything. So you can't even take politics seriously at this point. But second of all, even if you are going to take it seriously for like a few minutes, I mean, people forget to
well,
realize the last 3 years,
this
Trump.
is what I'm saying. Oh, well, let's be accurate. We're predicting the play that is
Right. We're
being
exactly,
enacted and given to as the fallacy in front of.
exactly. This is no different than predicting the outcome of a game or a match or anything else. I mean, that's all this is. That's why Joe says, "Who gives it what politicons do? It ain't gonna help us."
Oh,
Agreed.
right.
And,
We're all gonna get hooped in the end, anyways.
right. Exactly. I mean, and they said, I think they're still trying to stop him from running. I think it was about what Trump, and he says the DOJ already looked at the case in 2019. LOL. But I mean, the whole thing is so stupid because the last 3 years, if we're gonna pretend to take this seriously, the way you take a sporting event or whatever serious, it's like, all right, look, these guys. Trump has basically been looked at as Grandpa Moderna for the past 3 years, and now he's
Mm.
just trying to get his credibility back. I mean, it's not a coincidence that DeSantis is becoming more popular along that side of the aisle, and now they're worried about Trump becoming a political martyr again. This is so stupid. I mean, it's really dumb. But what
See,
else is he gonna
as a
do?
Canadian, hardly know of whom this like to say about to represent a average Canadian. DeSantis, what? Who? What?
Right. Well, I mean, to millions of people, he's the guy who stood up to Anthony Fauci in Florida.
Oh, is that the
That
Floridian?
that's why people
Yeah.
like him are being looked at in a more positive light than Trump at this point.
Mm.
Because Trump is just Grandpa Moderna to many people, to millions of people now. So,
Uh,
and then of course we're not going to talk about that. Why? Because of this whole fake arrest nonsense.
it's sort of like this guy here in Canada. Um, uh, uh, the conservative leader now, I forgot his name, seems to be somewhat level-headed. It's a front of hopeful that this level-headed person will be put into office, but it's all just play anyways, and like they're on the same team of deception and coercion. They're not, you know.
They really are. They really are.
Andrew something. Andrew. Uh, anyways,
Yeah.
I'm crap with names. Don't like I know the face, the spirit.
Right. No, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jake Ron Fox says, "Hey, bro, what up, Jake?" And Hoey says, "Yeah, the COVID Wuhan declassification was signed today." Well, I mean, either way, Grandpa Moderna was more than okay with following along with it. So. It's-
Yeah. And they all follow along in one way or the other. Anyways,
I think he was
and
talking about yeah, that is true. But I think Hart was talking about a Canadian politician with the name Andrew, not Andrew Tate.
yeah, yeah, no, oh,
I mean, Tate's
yeah,
gross.
yeah. But anyways, yeah, whatever is the
They're all
caricature, the persona given, is that one that is level-headed, that is seems to stand up for so-called human rights, but uh, um, it really is just a ploy to add hopefulness out of this hopeless situations that we're given, or what seems.
Joe, this is Hart. This is for you. He says, our guy, Country Joe Logan says, I can't believe that there's Native people in this country and Canada that believe in the coronavirus and the vaccines. Like, shouldn't natives be the first not to trust anything the government says?
100%, I agree with you, and completely disappointed with all my kin, my relatives, of how they don't remember smallpox, measles, and that they absolutely agreed and went upon, and yeah, no, it goes completely against natural remedies. Right here, Indian Herbology of North America.
Right. There you go. Indian herbology in North America. There it is.
They're not one pharmaceutical. Every single one of them is of a natural remedy provided for by nature.
Exactly. That's
And
not supposed to
how
be.
natives went against that. How dare you? You went against your own kind and your own beliefs and background, and wake up because you have been fed a snake oil propaganda scheme that you uh, accepted. Don't accept the snake oil.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I mean, the natives of all people should be the first, like Joe said, should be the first one to stand up against it. But then again, at the same time, I also see a bunch of people who are white and native get duped by idiots like Eddie Blackcloud and Ed Higgins at Standing Rock. So I'm not so sure anymore.
See, like as you said, white. They're just as white as any of the other. The
Yeah.
like to use the common terminology and such. Like they don't like using that but it that's what it is. They aren't native. They've accepted the ways of the non-native. So thus, you know, it, uh, they no longer represent the us, the way of being, the way of the original beings, and,
Really
and
don't.
uh, just like all the chiefs are not, they're not natives. These are ones that accept the colonialistic suppression system for what it is. That is just the modern slave system. A British politician slipped that out of their for their immigrants,
Hmm.
kind of. Oh, I forgot his name, but it's like, yeah, no, these immigrants won't be apt to access the modern slave system. That's what it is. It's the modern slave system.
Right.
Yeah.
That that's what people fail to realize when it comes to immigration. You know what they do with a lot of the quote unquote illegals or undocumented is they basically turn them into their new indentured servants and indentured slaves.
Yeah. Oh, just like the that news article shared a couple weeks ago with the Mexicans coming to Canada
Yeah,
being housed in, well, they are uh, given these jobs at corporate level. They're like, these should be decent paying jobs and stuff like that, but they're not. Then you take the actual the ones who uh, jump through the hoops and do it so-called legally. The immigrants are taxed the most.
right,
Of course, they want immigrants. They get paid the most from immigrants. So as long as it's made lucrative, it's going to be
right.
promoted.
Yeah, the legal ones get taxed the most, but the quote unquote legal ones get taxed the most. But then again, at least well, at least they're the ones that get to be treated like human
Uh,
beings.
uh,
Where it's like,
uh, and then the illegal ones, yeah, they do the job for pennies on the dollar, and there you go. Then
right,
these, and then do not have to go through the corporate and benefits and all the other things that is required of an employer to pay.
exactly. And FYI, this isn't just a North America problem. This is happening throughout the entire world, especially in the countries that are having a new economic development, or
Mm.
countries that have been on the rise economically in the last 20 years. Like, oh, I don't know, the Middle East. You know, you think places like Doha and Dubai or and Abu Dhabi and any of them were built because of because they paid their because they paid their workers a fair wage? No, it was through fucking like it was basically through slave labor, because you had a bunch of migrant, a bunch of like a bunch of like a bunch of people migrating from South Asia, like like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and some of these other places. As like lower class workers go into these countries and basically be treated like slaves, where their bosses have their passports, they can't leave anywhere, they got to build all these buildings in Dubai, and all these in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Doha and all these other all these other like Middle Eastern booming cities, and they're just like I said, it's just slave labor, and no one even talks about that.
So if the Sonniers were here, they'd be able to take they'd be all teasing you and claiming that your doppelganger, uh, uh, Russell Peters, has his joke. That's his joke. And explains to how Dubai was built.
Mm-hmm.
And supports what you just said. There is they have the little tiny, like they're mini. What are these little mini East Indians that aren't? How come they're different? They're like a different tribe. These little mini East. They're just super tiny, and they were given the option as could I have a hard hat or work boots? And the joke was, well, the one picked the hard hat. Well, why'd you pick the hard? Well, I have one head and I have 10 toes.
Yeah. It's like that. All right. Howie says farms need help. If you live in the third world, you might decide that fate too. Well, that's. I mean, I'm not saying either situation's great, but I mean, that's just terrible. I mean, that's just a terrible situation.
Yeah, he literally points it out. That's how Dubai was built. It's done through slave labor.
Of course. I mean,
100%.
and not to make this about like how the Chinese are exploiting people, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the projects the Chinese have been doing in Africa aren't on the up and up either. So
Mm,
I think there might have been some slave labor with that too. And we won't even get into the the mining of cobalt, about how that's basically child slave labor. But
yeah.
hey, it's so green. Using cobalt is so green for the environment, Hart. Using 70 millenniums worth of cobalt is great for the environment, and it's great that they're using it just gross. The whole child labor thing is gross, and you don't even see any of these idiot leftists like pointing that out.
Uh, and then, like, what is really here's conspiracy in there, like, but what is really happening behind the scenes, as say at Afghanistan or Syria? It is the heads of state, the ones that was like, okay, we're going to have the war here against our own people, and they agreed to it. They chose that shit. Uh, so it's genocide against their own people. And it is agreed to. That's what's happening behind the scenes. What seems to be, at least, anyways. And like that's what the honest, the straightforward clarity that is not being just out there. That's
Right.
what it is.
That's so true. Holy says it gets way worse trafficking today still. Agreed. Kim Archibald says, "Hi, Will." I mean, his name's been Hart for the past 3 years, but by all means, keep calling him Will. Joe says, yeah, and the white man was paid to to trade infected blankets to natives. I'm part Cherokee and Navajo, and yet and yet I still ain't got enough sense to grow hair. Natives in some cases have conformed to receive money.
Yeah.
And he also says, and the last part, I don't know how true this is, because I know that I do know that if you fill out the right paperwork, the government will give anyone a grant to start a business if
Mm,
done properly. But I'm
yeah.
going to read this comment anyway. But I've been hearing this more and more. The government gives money to people from Indian, Armenian countries to start businesses. I can't get that, but I ain't hating. I do it too. I may go live in India if I get my money right. $1 is worth almost 70 rupees. Well, it's
That
almost like 80
that
rupees.
that is the thing. See, any of the thing of from immigration status is that they are looking to get a better life,
Right.
and that they're trying to leave an oppressive place of where they are, and they're offered, and yeah, it's they're going to choose where it is offered, of where they're given more freedoms of where they live currently stand. And if it is provide that's UK is dealing with this with UK and other places like in Ireland with Uganda and stuff like that. Uh, um, the what they promote their governments. It's not the fault of the ones to take advantage. I mean, just imagine being stuck in a refugee camp, and then you were offered freedoms and a job, and not only a job, business and a house. Who would not accept that? Refugee camp,
Yeah.
house, business, foreseeable future.
It's, it's terrible. Joe says, not to mention the country that has slave organ donors. It's. I mean, some of it is just gross when it comes to harvesting organs
Uh,
from living people. Forget like we're not even going to get into some of the other pedogate stuff. I'm talking about like,
that's what the organ donor thing is. It has to come from a live host. Any organ donations has come from a living being, and they killed that living being to harvest those. If given incentive to the ones that might have been apt to survive their current conditions, may be subjected to being murdered for their donating. All donations are done from live hosts.
right. I mean,
Let that sink in.
right. That's true. And mostly live or live-ish hosts, but two more importantly, the sad part is everyone talks about how bad the black market is, but for some people, that's like their only option. Where when it comes to like, whether it comes to a recipient getting getting an organ being donated, or in other cases, the donor themselves, because at least the donor themselves is going to make some money off of it, no matter how painful and dangerous it is. Whereas, if it's done through the proper channels, that might not be the case.
See, in the ones hoping for these things that shouldn't really be, it's not a natural remedy.
No, it's not.
but
It's not something I would recommend to
the
anybody.
ones waiting for it, they should be pissed off that who's that one that passed one of the Rockefellers, or was it the Rothschilds, or he went through 6 hearts.
Yeah, I think it was like 7 heart transplants.
7 heart everyone on a heart transplant waiting list should have been completely appalled and just angry, and their entire families. That should have been their reasoning to get up and stand up against the
Right.
system right there.
Absolutely. That's what. Absolutely. But, absolutely. That's what it should have been the case. That being said, if there's anything I know about people like the Rockefellers, is I don't think they were. I don't think that was a sign of David Rockefeller just getting jumping to the top of the recipient list. I think I think human trafficking was involved in that too. So.
Yeah, picking those hearts too.
Right,
That's how poisonous he is. He kills the hearts that are given to him, that are
literally.
probably healthy.
He literally does that. Literally. And Joe says, I've had Indian friends who told me how they got here in a store. Same with Armenian people. If this is the case, I may have to. If this is the case, I may have to pretend to be. Have to pretend to be, to be an immigrant just to get that grant money. But no, there's other forms you can do that for in real life. I mean, I remember one time on watching CNBC way back in the day, the founder of Under Armour, he ended up getting a Caucasian guy,
Yeah.
someone whiter than Hoey. He was able to get a grant from the government to start up his company, and now that's worth I don't know if it was like a 5 or 6 figure grant, and he was able to start up his own workout line called Under Armour, which is now worth billions and billions of dollars. So I mean, like I said, it's
But
not just
I think you're missing the point. Was that through a racial incentive that was supposed to be provided towards natives or immigrants?
I think it was by immigrants,
Hmm.
but
But took advantage, even though it wasn't of such.
well,
And
well,
that's
I
the
don't.
same thing. Like even see, like
Well,
yeah, natives will take it and build a casino.
right, which good for them, you know. They had their stuff robbed for centuries. They might as well just rob everyone else again. So, which again, I have no issue with it. But the bottom line is like some of these grants aren't exactly like race exclusive. It depends how you file the paperwork.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah, Joe says they are chained to a bed, and if they yell, they get hit over the. They are chained to a bed, and if they yell, they get hit over the head to shut them up. But they don't kill that unwilling. But if they don't kill an unwilling donor, if they have other organs usable, they let them live to get the rest. Yeah, it's terrible.
yeah, that's
But
some
let me
messed up.
read some of the Hoey comments. Hoey says, "What's a dollar worth, though? Really? Well, the dollar. Oh, like I said for years
It's
on these
all
damn.
imaginary.
Right, it's all imaginary. It doesn't even matter if it's a dollar, if it's gold or silver, or whatever the fuck we're talking about. The only reason it has any value is because people give it value.
Yeah.
If the dollar, if tomorrow the U.S. dollar went away and 340 million people said empty water bottles are a new currency, guess what would be our new currency? Empty water bottles.
Damn, and then you get people killing each other over recycling.
Exactly. There you go. You know, petroleum for the win, everybody. You're killing each other for oil again. But Hoey says nothing backs it up. It's just the paper we say it's okay worth some. But the things that are supposedly backing up the dollar are worth nothing either. The only reason they're worth anything is because we give it worth. We give it value.
They told us. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Hey guys, gold. Yeah, they told us for thousands of years. Oh, by the way, gold is worth something. What the fuck was gold worth 10,000 years ago? Seriously. What was gold worth like 20, 30,000, 40,000 years ago?
It was just a tool, and it was shared then.
Right. Gold, silver, platinum, all these damn minerals, those are they're worth anything is because people make them worth something. Because a bunch of not to make this sound racist as fuck, but a bunch of South Asians and Eastern Asians and Eastern Asians and Middle Easterners were like Habibi, how much you want to buy? Sir, no problem. I have some gold. Would you like to do? Yeah, that's the reason it was so expensive back then.
Yeah.
And a bunch of freaking Mediterranean people were like, sure, like yeah, sure, we want in on the action. Like, all right, here you go.
See, this is a part of the humbleism that isn't shared. See, what it out of all the isms that isn't promoted is humbleism,
Right.
and it's honesty and of what it is of the past, and say you take the Oriental and then I guess the Mediterranean type Persian. Influences. These are of the most ancient, and but plus of the most longest of indoctrinated to the market and the currency system, the banking system. It's always been to promote trading and to trade against their own kind.
Absolutely.
They've been indoctrinated for the most and promoting I'm trying to get that word and fish it out of capitalism.
Exactly. There you go. Joe Logan says our asses represent the money. That's why so many people here have to die to cover what's spent. Sad but true. And our guy Happy says actually gold does back the U.S. dollar. That's why gold and silver prices fluctuate. As the dollar is inflated in value, the cost of hard currency, gold, silver, etc., goes down, and vice versa. It doesn't back it directly. It's only traded on commodities. It's not a direct backing like how it was before the 1930s or whatever. But the
Yeah,
point being is, even if it's backed by something, the things it's backed by only have value because people give it value. Basically, basically Happy's people back in the day
it's
are
playing a
merchants.
game. It is playing Monopoly as a game. Here, think that
Right.
these
Basically, yeah.
things that are going to be the totems of representing of an idea is to be played for as the idea. They're all just
Right.
ideas.
Uh,
It's all within the mind.
right.
And it's only given reality through thinking that it is of reality.
Exactly. That's the harsh reality for you, for lack of a better term. Uh, Happy Cannibal says precious metals are internationally valued for the industrial. Well, basically, generations ago when the Silk Road existed, you had merchants like Happy trying to do business with citations like myself. You had other other Far East Asians and other Middle Easterners and Mediterranean people getting in on the action, and that's why gold and silver are worth what they're. Right,
That's capitalism.
right. It
See, this
is.
shit's worth money. I'm gonna go collect it and capitalize off
Like,
of it.
that's what it was. Why do you think so many people came to this? Why do you think so many people colonized India and the rest of South Asia? It's because they came here for the damn spices and the jewelries and the
And
spices, the silk and the
capitalism is
coloring.
okay.
Right.
It's okay to step on the brother, the native, and your neighbor. Sorry, I didn't mean to say native.
I mean, they kind of. Well, I mean, we were all one at one point.
Well, that's the thing. All y'all were natives of the same sort of tribe, and yeah, y'all had your different languages, but you probably had an agreement. So, like, we are the same. Us of the now current India. Yeah, y'all different than China. Y'all
Right.
different than Bangladesh. Those are different beings.
Well, now they
100%.
are. They,
You know.
well, India itself, like India itself, even if if you remove, even if you go back like a few hundred years, uh, even go back a few thousand years, when you didn't really have when this is before Muslims came
Well,
into existence, and the British didn't know what they were doing. Like, even if you go back, India's always been a country of its, so many different tribes and cultures and all that. I mean,
yeah.
even today, India's got like 36 different like provinces or something. And what's Bangladesh now is just East Indian people who left the
It,
Indian border.
it just wasn't so separated as such, and there was more
No, they've always been separated.
so
It
much
just
of yeah.
We
But
weren't separated by borders. We were
you were sort of trying to get to it that a bunch of the colonialism, the modern thoughts were given recently.
right.
The ideas of the current enslavement and class systems for what they are
Well,
is
I mean,
very much recent for even the Indian
no,
populace.
that
It,
I
it's
don't.
it's
Nah, I
it's
don't know about all that. Yeah, we've had our own. The
yeah,
Indian.
you've had different and
Yeah,
different,
we've had our caste system for a long time.
yeah,
Let's not do that.
but the current one is fresh and it is current and it is fairly new and it is not not what you had before. And then even you have to go back a long time to
Right,
really get back to the actual uh, um,
right, and we were never given.
native root, the original way of
Right,
being
but
before any sort of class system and
right, but what,
trading.
well, what people
Age.
fail to realize is that
We
our
don't even
original
know.
roots. our original roots are not all that great when it comes to
It,
like
it,
morality
it,
and that. Like we were our own city states, and we would go to war against each other for land. Like we were
that's
never.
kind of what it was too.
Hmm,
That there was a whole bunch of just separatism and stuff like that. But that's what was offered, and say like because you got all these other temples and stuff like that. What are those made by? Those are made by bricks. Those are made by masons. Those are
yeah,
it's sort of unnatural. It's not a grass
also
hut.
true.
So like even those all these ancient structures that have been grown over and completely wore down, beyond that of any sort of other structures that are around Earth, that 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 system beforehand was too offered through a capitalistic colonial
It
system that
was
was a masonry base.
pretty
It was
much.
made with bricks.
Yeah, I mean the caste system. The caste system was the first class system when it came to all that, and that's part of the reason why the Indian civilization was so divided to the point where so many countries were able to colonize India. That whole region. Like there's a reason the Moguls were able to take over India for as long as they did, and there's a reason the British did. Where the British were able to do that, and there's a reason even countries like the French and the Portuguese were able to colonize parts of India as well, because there was never any unity and everybody could come together and any of that stuff. But yeah, in short, basically, yeah, we've always been a fucked up society. This is just the latest iteration of it. And let me
Well, I
read
don't know about always. It's just been a very see. This is the thing of where we're getting into be honest and accurate about things. Is the Orientals, Asianic, uh, um, societies is so far back if we have no idea of when they lost their actual original way of being of hunter trader mentality,
yeah, that's so true.
or sorry, no, hunter gatherer and supportive of each other, because that's
Exactly.
probably
There
how
you
it
go.
was then.
Let me read some of these comments. Howie says, dude, ask inner city streets can join military or learn trades but gangs and violence. He says Saudis built the hotels here. And he says, I'm a different shade of white. Don't know, don't have the history. And he says, banking is the fractional reserve banking is the U.S. dollar's debt and largest Ponzi scheme ever. But read some of the things Happy says. Absolutely correct. The Harshman, the dollar is not backed by everyone. Is not backed except faith and the acceptance of the people. Well, off the God standard in 1933, and then in regards to the Happy's people being merchants during the Silk Road holiday. Love you too, Happy. And then now it's like, and that's the Fatal says Persians back then. Yeah, it was Persians, whatever you want to call it.
No.
And then
See, because well, that's what like you know the y'all Asian, but you're different than the Oriental, right?
yep, we're South or East Asians.
It is a different creed, a different background. There's no denying it. We can't deny it. But yeah, it's not like we're to uh, be divided because of such. Yeah.
Right. And
Oh, well.
of course, speaking of Hindu puns, he says, "No, we came for the."
See, yeah, and that's the thing. Like Indian, it's not an acceptable term on either side of the pond.
Right. And
You
Howie
know,
says
like it's
Afghanistan is an
Hindu.
Asian. I'm like, Howie, Afghanistan used to be a part of India 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
They only split up like that, like before the Mughal Empire came and split up a lot of that
Same thing
area.
with Pakistan, right? Like y'all
Right.
should be just like, what up, brother? You know.
Exactly. Well, I mean, they're still
Hello.
Punjabi. Well, I mean, they're still Punjabi, so I don't know how. I'm just kidding.
Everyone says that same hello.
And how he says Asians cover more shades than white. That is true.
Right? And the Latinos, the natives and stuff. Oh, so much. It's such a broad spectrum.
It is. It really is. Like
Mm.
Joe says, Country Joe says, people all over the world divide themselves even against their own race. Half for eons. Like, when are we going to get smart?
100%.
I don't know when we're going to get smart.
We just need we don't need smarts. We just need some common sense, just like Joe Logan.
Howie says, yes, the Middle East is an Asian continent. People forget this. Yeah, that's Persia, but we're not talking about Persia. Anyway,
Mm.
because see, Afghanistan is basically like a northern part of India, but people forget that
Mm.
because it's been like 900 years since they broke away because moguls.
All the stands and dans.
Well, the Stan is just an Islamic way of saying country
Mm.
or land.
And that's the thing, is the person of the land. That's what's been taken away from everyone, is we were all personages, individuals, beings of that given land set. And with colonialism and spreading what it is to be disassociated, not to be joined with uh, um, the given land that they are supposed to be in living harmoniously with.
This is true. Clifton St. Ray Park says people divide themselves even against their own biological family. Sad but true.
Mhm.
Howie says so. Black Jesus can't exist. I don't know if that's how
That
that works.
that's a. I mean, that's a thing of their stories and this and that. It's all being twisted, and there's a big group of ones saying that the original, is black. It is from Egypt, and is yeah, you split Egypt and Ethiopia. Those are the same beings. You just split up a set of migratory
Yeah.
family, and gave them different names and such. So just as old dirty bastard said, baby black Jesus is Ethiopian, and that's what they have. Like, there's a huge part of that believe that is the rooting of those stories given.
Yeah, what people fail to realize, Algeria and Egyptians look a lot alike. And yet Algeria is near and next to Mali. And Mali, Mali, they're a lot darker down there, but neither of those countries are that far apart between like between having like brown skin and having black skin.
Uh,
Like they're very near to each other. A lot of these countries.
oh,
So
and then to add to, and to make uh, 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 mm, deeper and more harder to separate from it, the history has been whitewashed.
yes,
A bunch of the leaders of the past were actually dark skinned, just as the saying, the Egyptians, and then too, Queen Elizabeth, the swarthy, with brunette reddish hair. So there is redheaded, dark skinned, black, to the common term. They're black with red hair. So Queen Elizabeth is originally of that complexion,
okay.
and that history has been whitewashed too as well. So yeah,
Mm.
you have.
not to make this completely racial or anything, but white people didn't even exist on this planet until like 3,000 years ago. Like 3,000, maybe 3,500 years if I'm being generous. They didn't even exist. Like everyone either looked like Hart or looked like me, like or they looked like Max. Like there was no
This is
difference.
winter me. I'm pale. I
Right,
should be darker.
right, but until like 3,500 years ago, then people started looking like Hoey.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I would say they look like no, we won't get into the Scott thing today. Or they look like Mary yet. Whatever. Anyway, the point being is
White's fresh.
what? Yeah, whites are like the new kid. For lack of a better term,
The
they're
new
new
kids
kids on
on
the.
the block.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what they are. White people are the new
that's
kids
a
on
made
the.
up. That's a made up groupie band
I
by a
know,
corporation.
right? Because the only reason why white people
That's
even
supported and created by Jewish sector. Same thing too with going back to what this Queen Elizabeth and what she was, and she is just an off formation of the Jewish religion.
right,
Same thing too with Catholic and Christianity. It's just it is Judaism 2.0.
right,
You know,
exactly. Robert says, "Damn harsh. You look old sitting next to Art." Well, who doesn't? Anyhow, are you like people lived in caves at the end of the last ice age? They was white. No, they were like Asian looking. They weren't white. They were like carbon.
no,
They
I
weren't
got whiteness.
right.
I'm not that young. I'm not that young.
Mm,
It shows here and there.
right. But no, back in the day, though, the real reason why people started having white complexions was people who came from like the Mediterranean or African countries or whatever. When they went to these colder countries like the Scandinavians and stuff, it took them generations to start having lighter pigmentation and lighter skin color and all that. Like
Yeah.
so, they didn't even. But until people started migrating north, you didn't have that. Or like to some of
And
these other cold weather areas. So you didn't even
see,
have that.
if we were to take their saying of the migratory pattern of the growing of Homo sapiens on Earth, that's would have been the amalgamated sum of what it was. Is
Yeah.
the went south, started some and moved about, but went north and then came back, and then originated around the Georgia area. I have a video of I did share it up.
Right.
You
The
can check it
Caucasus
out
Mountains.
on YouTube too. Uh, s- is it the origins of Caucasian
Yeah,
where
it's the Caucasus Mountains. That's
Caucasians
where they
come
came
from?
from.
But yeah, there's uh, a
Yeah.
dark skinned
Again.
complexion lady who gave a fantastic uh, um, re, um, presentation
Right.
of
Yeah.
where the origins of Caucasian
Yeah. The
white skinned human beings came
yeah.
from.
They came from the damn mountains. They had
Yeah,
to adjust. They could know they when they originally went to these areas, they were as melanated as I was, if not more. But then over time, they had to adjust to the damn weather. So that's how they became Caucasians. The Caucasus Mountains. They're mountain people. They had to go to
yeah,
like cold places and stuff.
and pretty much they're Inuits that changed their
Right. Well, I mean,
they're Northerners. They're original beings of the North that have traded their own kind.
right. Exactly. That's why Joe says, the first slaves were white because they were the minority ages. Exactly, because they were the new they were the new race that that was taken advantage of. Although
Yo,
I don't
strange.
right
What's going on with the what? Yo, strange.
exactly. What is this? What do these people look like?
And people fear what they do not understand, and it wasn't an of an understanding of their
Right,
coming into contact with the white skinned, and it's just pale complexion. Uh,
exactly, really. But but
no
advantage
one
that though
white.
people feel real like I was having this conversation with both Juan and I about like a month or so, a few months ago, and it's like with people, but he I think he was bringing some blah, blah, blah. One of the things he said was, back in the Greco-Roman day, during the Greco-Roman empires, a lot of the people there looked Mediterranean. A lot of they were Mediterranean. They didn't look Caucasian. They looked more tan.
They copper, they copper looking.
Right. They weren't.
There's darker than me as such. You see, this is winter setting, and I haven't been sun kissed.
Right.
The ones of the Mediterranean, they're sun kissed all the time. It's gorgeous there, freaking. So like, yeah, they're almost as dark, just a little bit more shiny as Harshes.
Exactly. There you go. That's what it was in those days. Only once people started migrating to colder weather climates, you had that's when you had people starting to look like Hoey and Robert Walker. I'd say Joe, but Joe's kind of mixed. So
Hmm. See, yeah, same thing with Scott too. He's
yeah,
even
well, I
darker
mean
than me.
Scott's a whole
I'm
different.
looking at Scott's picture right now. He's freaking darker than me.
Scott's just he yeah
But he
he
denies that. He's
I
whiter than
know
me. That's for sure. That's not.
he didn't.
That's being racist right
I
there.
know that's self-loathing and racism. And Joe says, we ain't actually white. We're peach colored. Why does color have to separate us further? Ain't bad enough. Ain't it bad enough people are against their own kind? I wonder why I can't get off stuck on stupid. That is true. But,
Yeah, and that's another thing is to blame white man.
right.
That's the thing that's given to natives. That's a inaccurate prejudice that then generalizes yeah, um,
Right. Well,
and it just encourages ignorance instead of viewing and acceptance. And yeah,
right.
it's just the same. Yeah, for the poor whiteys, they were the slaves first, and they're
Yeah, they
just as
were.
much Irish slaves as they were, and that's the actual. If
I
you look up
mean,
extinct languages, Celtic is one.
yeah, there you go. I mean, the Irish were slaves. They were
That's
slaves in the Western
like
world.
there's not really any other extinct languages. It's just Celtic.
Right. Well, I mean, the only languages I can think of that are somewhat extinct are Latin and whatever. But
Yeah, they're almost dying, and Sumerian, older
But I
Sumerian
mean, any
languages.
language can stay alive as long as you care to learn it.
Uh,
But the point being is, every race has either enslaved their own people or been slaves to other people at some point. I mean,
mm,
what people fail to realize, even about the first slaves the first slaves weren't white. They were probably like Persian or they were probably like Persian or Indian, and it's not even like the or
or Oriental
Asian or
descent,
whatever the fuck.
some
And,
sort of.
and it right, and not to pick on my own religion or culture for a bit, but the caste system was basically telling you who was born into slavery and who was born as slavery, who was born as a warrior, who was born as a farmer, and who was born as as the people controlling all this. So I mean, to sit there and say the whites are the first slaves or the blacks are the first slaves, well, maybe in the last 1,000 years or something, maybe in the last like 2,000 years, but I mean, the people were enslaving their own kind. Let's just put it what it is. Well, it was Indian people, it was the Persians, it was The
and
Romans, it was
that's what it is. Like, is
the
either China
Olympics,
or
whatever.
India, right, or any of these other sort of close places that like just and either side, it's just like they were the first ones. It's like,
Right,
okay, hey brother, but not
exactly.
brother. And so I view it as that it is China, and well, currently now it's still under Khan's rule from the
Right, and we
Silk
know.
Road, and the Silk Road. The next stop on the Silk Road is India. So
Right,
it's just uh, it is run by China. But it's Khazarian because that's another stop along the way
yeah.
through Georgia and stuff like that. And it's Aryan. So it's Khazarian is Aryan.
Kazahar, Khazarian. So it's Khazarian. There you go. And Joe Logan says people in China will sell their own kids into sexual slavery, as they probably did thousands of years ago, before Caucasians even existed. There you go. There you go. And the thing that people forget,
And then so it's just like, and all of a sudden white people appeared, and it's like, oh, that's great, that's awesome, let's
look,
embody that and exemplify that to 100%. And then they just became rulers of such.
right? Well, yeah. Let's bring them into the fuckery. Welcome to the club, Howie and Scott. Anyway,
Sorry, but but
yeah,
it's not, it's the ones that are, the elite and the
right.
rulers, and
I mean,
it's not the original. All the ones of the we're all in the same boat.
we
We're
are.
all been thrown in the same boat. It doesn't matter where you are.
I never realized how true that was until there's countries where white people don't exist and they still have the same racial issues. They still have the same religious issues, the same issues about class and caste and whatever. And there's hardly any people that look like Hoey or Robert Walker in those
I
countries, and they're
want to go
so
where there isn't Christmas.
right. Exactly.
I don't want to see Christmas. I don't want to hear a fucking Christmas carol ever again. I don't want to see any of that. I don't want to see commercialization. I want to get away.
Exactly.
Take me away.
Exactly. There you go. Joe says, yes, hardest like saying natives are savages. Shit, all people can be savages. Natives fought other natives and killed them and enslaved long before Europeans showed up. Agreed. And FYI, when the slave trade was happening, the most famous one that happened about 400 or 500 years ago that people still talk about to this day. See, the Africans, what they did, the tribes and those people. I mean, this is like I'm paraphrasing a Russell Peters skit, but this is still true though. What they did is the tribal people they sold their workers, and they're like they're like lower class, like lower caste people, to the U.S., quote unquote, to the U.S. for slaves. And you know what they did? They went to India. They went to what was India, and bought their lower class people, quote unquote, and replaced them as slaves in Africa.
Yeah.
So what? It goes back. So really, it's multifold. It's like a multifold thing, and it goes back centuries and centuries. Like you basically had like people selling their own kind to people selling their own kind. And
See, and that's just it though. Like, I don't. They try to put it onto the natives, and like we had that and such. Like, I don't view it as such. What the possibilities of, and then going through my researching of history, it, that, so you have the Incas, the Mayans, the Aztecs and stuff like that. Well, what have they been given? They've been given their temples. These are all places that an actual native would not agree to. We don't need a temple. It's
Right.
unnecessary for us Earth is our sanctuary,
Right.
everything, you know. So and that's why they went and colonized that part of the Turtle Island first, because they were already subjected to a class system that was
Right.
given through masonry of some sort. And what was for this foundings given to it probably was introduced of a possibility, and yet there was evidence of uh, pale skinned, plus also dark skin, but redheaded in those areas too. So
Right.
they could have been influenced that were given the ideas of enslavement. So the idea of enslavement has been given, and then it's just pretty much traders. And then that idea of trading was then given to like Cherokees, and then Iroquois. Some of these ones that did go against, and the colonialism would not have happened if it wasn't for um, ones disgracing and going against their own kind for the uh, uh, the gratuities of capitalism.
Right. That's what it is. Joe says, repeating something I said 5 minutes ago. You know that African people sold their own people into slavery, right? I'm like, yes, I just mentioned that. And Fatwell always says, yes, human trafficking is the longest lasting problem in humanity history. Human trafficking is also, not to make this, to make this even worse, it's also the most lucrative industry in the entire world on
Yeah.
the black market.
It's how they produce their things. That's what going back to Queen Elizabeth, and
Right.
hers was the sugar trade. It's
Exactly.
to be lucrative. It's everything is a business venture. It is the trading system and
Right.
capitalism.
I mean, that's just gross that human trafficking is the number one industry on the black market.
Oh, and in Africa too. Like out
Mm,
of the places of most reported incidences put forth to the judicial system, judicial, judicial,
yeah.
uh, is that it's literally millions per year, or at least around a million cases per year. Less than 3% of those are brought towards of an actual case that is to be brought forth, and less than 1% of that is brought forth of being actually charged.
Mm,
So out of over a million charges, maybe a few hundred actually get charged for human trafficking.
yeah. If that. Uh, Fatwell always says porn probably number two. The thing about it, though, the porn industry wouldn't even exist without human trafficking. Like, it wouldn't exist at all.
Hmm,
You know,
probably, maybe. Yeah,
not
pretty
the way it
much.
is. No.
And I mean, they're like kind of work go hand in hand. It
Yeah.
is because of such, and yeah, yeah.
It's the illegal lifestyle risk in a lot of cases.
Like it is. Eventually, it is chosen to. And it's like I'm gonna be a porn star, and it's a good idea. You know,
Yeah.
but that is because of
Right.
you know.
Yeah. And Joe says, the slaves come from many countries. Again, true. We said this. People from Ireland and Australia and other countries signed up to be indentured servants to get out of where they were. That they did. And a fun fact about Australia: supposedly, like most of the convicts in England back in the day, instead of like staying in prison in England, they just get exiled to Australia.
See, and this is the thing that's going on now. That UK is you get in the feel of how natives get to feel. Of that their country has been war torn. It's absolutely hell where they live. They could
Right.
choose to live in hell, or they have been given an opportunity and a whole bunch of freedoms of where to take advantage of. And of course, they're going to go take advantage of.
Right. And to wrap it all up, Joe, you the man, Joe. He says, "Yeah, Arch, you were saying what I was. It's just you're on the line, so you beat me to it. Yeah, technology these days." But to wrap it all up, what they would call the Eastern Europeans in French, French would call Eastern Europeans who are who would be considered Caucasian. They would call them Slav, like Slavic,
Hmm.
Slav, which is in France, which is French for slave. So that alone tells you that this whole slavery thing is transcendent when it comes to.
See, in that, to take it back to um, a situation before that, is you had gold, and it was Gaulish, and how dare you have the gold? And the gold were the slaves, and they
Yeah.
were the French.
Yeah.
And that the Roman Empire looked at them as the lower class human beings. And now you have English.
Yeah, there you go.
Tis 100% slave language.
Right. No, and Hubley says, you mean Wayne and Trigger weren't in Africa last so we knew farm equipment? I mean, they might have been. We don't know. Oh, Hubley, I think you got your Western and Eastern mixed up. He says, well, first he says Australia was a prison camp. That's well documented. And then he says, LOL, Eastern Europe fell to Hitler. Their opinions don't matter. Yeah, I think
Think
you
of
mean Western Europe.
that's the form of all colonialisms.
Right.
Bring forth degenerates, the
Yeah.
criminals and such. And it's the males who matters. It's not females. It's not families.
Right.
It is it is a war um, infantry that is a guy set up through colonial classism that is slavism that they were prisoners and awful criminals usually of their past state and where they
Right.
are outcast and sent to other lands to uh, take advantage and then no and have no problems. Then there's the schooling given to go take advantage of these people, and you're better than them
Yeah.
because they're of lower standings.
It's terrible.
And it's okay to rape the young and child because it's not actual rape. It's just that
Horrible.
they're not actual human. They're not actual human beings. That's what's given to Australians. They're flora and fauna. They're just they're wildlings that aren't even human beings.
Right. And FYI, to wrap up your point, Hoey says, I don't care what they think either, but yes, you're right. If you want to be more accurate, in World War II, the Soviet winter is what shut down the Nazis in Russia. So just letting you know that. And then D-Day was just the final nail in the coffin.
Mm.
But
You know,
yes, anyhow,
bunch of that is to hide the Russian genocide for what it is the Northern
yeah,
genocide.
of
You know,
course.
um,
But yeah, I mean, the point being is, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. Everyone's gonna have their own issues and to deal with it. At the
uh,
end of the
uh,
day, we are people. We're supposed to be one.
uh, what it is genocide on every single front. And
Yeah,
going back to, they don't want anyone connected, joined to any sorts of roots whatsoever.
yeah,
The majority of Americans, Canadians, they have no idea what their lineage is, what their homeland is, and they're such a mixed sort. They have, and how it is. What are they going to represent anyways? Because they have uh, numerous backgrounds to be their so-called lineage.
that is true. That is so true. Well, uh, we are at the 2 hour. We're at the 1 hour and 50.
Our short show went on for.
Yeah, if every Tuesday show is like this, it's pretty entertaining. But I just don't understand the whole blame whitey thing when most countries don't have white people in them and they still have the same racial tensions.
Oh, and like it's just blame the banker.
Right. Blame the banker, blame whitey, and all this other stuff. And it's like,
You know,
that's not how that works. Like,
that if we it is monopoly. That's the one whom everyone fucking is plays the game toward. The banker has control of everything.
right. And FYI, terms like white and black are economic statuses.
Same thing too with native.
Yeah.
With see, we have that here in to deny or to uh, indigenous, native, uh, whatever they're trying to put forth. It denies Ojibwe, Cree, Algonquin. It, it, it denies lineage, and
Yeah.
it accepts their form of capitalistic title. And form of slavery. That is accepting slavery with choosing their terminology.
Yeah. Joe says Hart is right. I'm mixed with races that supposedly hate each other. Go figure. All right.
I met a Jewish German. That poor kid was so mixed up.
I know. I remember talking to one of my friends, Mandy Coke, about it because she's actually mixed too. She's like part native, part Jewish, part German. I'm like,
Oh
so,
man.
were you the guards or were you the ones? I think Happy suffers from that same fate. I'm like, so were you? So were you in the camps or guarding the camps?
Oh. And that's isn't that what it is of like the ones like Soros? Isn't that his background?
Yeah,
And it was like, oh, traded his background to be the guard of the camp.
right. Apparently, that is his background.
Yeah, human beings do your research.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And on that note,
But
Joe,
that, it then take away for and really be scrupulous of what is shown.
all right. And of course, Hoey says, I got a warning for saying white. Facebook is hilarious. Yeah. You know what's so funny? People complain about like people misspelling words on social media, but then when you spell the word white correctly, Facebook clamps down on you.
What? Well, yeah, no, people, but what they? I don't know.
Yeah, if
They
you spell
misspell
like
that.
your
They
right.
misspelled white. How?
Yeah, he spelled white correctly, and he says, I got a warning for saying white. Facebook is hilarious.
Damn.
I mean, the whole thing is just weird to me. Like, how it's so weird how everyone complains about people misspelling words on social media, but yet, with the way the algorithms are set up, if you don't misspell certain words, you get sent to Facebook jail.
Oh, and see, they're getting that now too. Like, there's this different sector that isn't quite the KKK, but it's almost like the KKK.
Yeah.
They're trying to genocide the white people. They're trying to genocide everyone. Isn't this the point of the show?
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, yeah. There's a new form, a new groupage that isn't quite, and that is their shtick of their and their claim is, and they're kind of true. You know, they can pick apart and show of reasonings of such. Like it is evidence in some of the systematic things that they put forth. So but yeah, and just sort of the same thing too. Where yeah, we're the whitey. Everything is sort of anti-white now, and that is the fad that is being promoted
Mm-hmm.
in the truther sector.
Right. The anti-white stuff. I mean, FYI, white people only exist. "Quote unquote," white people only exist. You know, Caucasian types only exist in like maybe 30% of the world. 30-40% of the world at the most. Like you leave North America and Western Europe, you're not gonna find any Caucasians. I mean, the closest thing you might is if you go to like Brazil or Argentina in South America, where
Well,
half of them are like Italian, where half of the people in Argentina come from Italy,
yeah,
and some of them, and then some of the Caucasians,
Portugal.
and then some of the Anglo Saxons in places like Brazil and Argentina are there because you know their ancestors were brown shirts who had to flee the war. That's about it. But I mean, other than that, it's like the white and black are just economic statuses. They're not
My
even
race matters more than your race. That's pretty much just.
right. New Zealand, Australia. Well, yeah. Again, that's not much. But you know,
That
like there's all sorts of discrimination in countries where white people do not, where quote unquote white people do not exist.
besides just what I try to bring forth with the natives in Turtle Island and such, it's just more uh, prevalent and recent. That's it. You know,
It is.
like it's just everyone suffered the same sort of thing. Uh, uh, but you know, yeah, we're all in the same boat. We've all been thrown in the same boat, and
Yes.
stop bitching about the languages and the terminologies that we've been given in our boats to fight about.
Agreed. And on that note, I think that's a perfect way to end it. This has been another. And on that note, this has been another edition of the Harsh Reality. This is Harsh Metzana. I'm love you. That life is harsh, but no one wants to live it. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Tune in tomorrow when we have the one and only Alex Thomas come on the show to talk about artwork and
Have
life
you
and whatever in
chatted with
between.
her? She feeling fine now?
I hope so.
She
Take
had
care, everyone. Have a great rest of your